have emotions and think about things. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Hi, welcome to Emotional and Mental Justice. I'm Yuna. The topic of today is if you love someone. But firstly, I'd like to address the jingle to my podcast, and it says, we all have emotions and think about things. Let's talk about it. So today, we're actually going to be discussing whether or not we should talk about our thoughts and emotions. So the topic of today, if you love someone, and it follows on with a few questions. If you love someone, romantically we're talking about, should you tell them? The next question is why or why not? And what are the fears that surround both telling and not telling? So I have asked 10 girls and 10 guys, and I will read out some of the responses shortly. I won't read them all out, I'll just read a few of them out. But firstly, I'm going to give my own input. I'll start with something that I read. You all know that I love my quotes, and I read something that says, hearts are often broken by words left unspoken. I don't know who the author of that is or whatever, so I can't give credit to whoever that was. Now, this quote resonated with me because I feel that if the person I love would be unaffected by my confession, meaning that if they couldn't care less whether or not I loved them, and if that leads to me having a broken heart, then even if I hadn't told them, I could still have a broken heart because it would kill me to keep it a secret. And my heart would constantly play out the what ifs for as long as I love. So for me, yes, a heart can be broken by words left unspoken because it'll eat you up inside. And it's like bottling something up. I mean, you're not bottling up a still drink, right? It's fizzy. It's something that's bubbling up like in a science lab. It doesn't want to have the lid on. It's unsteady because it's unsure. And when you put that lid on, it's dying to come out of that bottle. And soon enough, it will explode. So bottling something up, it could be damaging. See, I say that I would tell someone, but maybe that's more like what I would want to do. Because, listen, I understand how scary it can be to make such a confession. Especially if there's a possibility that it could mess things up. For example, I don't know, messing up a friendship. And sometimes it's just hard to get those words out. Have you ever tried to speak your words, but they just never catch the air? Because maybe you're too afraid of the outcome, or you're afraid of hearing the words, back off! Well, for those in fear of speaking up, there is definitely a resolution. And this is using different ways to show the person that you love, or to tell them that you love them, without actually having to speak those 3 beautiful but scary words. I'm going to be exploring those in my next episode, where I will be discussing the 5 love languages. So firstly, let's go back to the responses that I have had to the question that I read out earlier, which was, if you love someone romantically, should you tell them? Why or why not? And what are the fears that surround both telling and not telling? So I'll start by reading out the first one. Okay, so this response is from a very special young lady named Delilah. And she says, of course you should tell them, because if they know that you love them, that might just make them love you. And then she goes on to remind me of one of my favourite songs by a singer named Major. And in the song, he says, this is why I love you, because you love me. And I think it's true, because when somebody loves you, I can only speak from experience when I say that you can't help but have a special place in your heart for them, because they see something good in you. Thank you so much for that response, Delilah. That was very special. It was very beautiful. And more so because it came with something personal, which was the reminder of the song that I love so much. So it was relevant. Thank you. So the next one I'll be reading is from a friend of mine named Praline. She says, yes, tell them. You only live once. Loving someone is special. And whatever their response, making the person aware can give them clarity. Plant a seed. Get a response that is mutual. Hopefully. I like the word hopefully at the end of it. So yeah, get a response that's mutual. Hopefully. There's no guarantees. So thank you for that, Praline. And I really like your response. What I'm taking from that is what you said about loving someone is special. It's special for you, and it can also be special for them, because I feel like just knowing that you have a space of warmth in somebody's heart, for me to know such a thing is just beautiful. So yeah, thanks, Praline. The next one I'm going to read out is from a friend of mine called Claire. She says, yes, tell them, because you would only regret it. If you don't say how you feel, you risk being put in the friend zone, hoping that something will happen, and it will only drive you mad not knowing if they feel the same way. Wouldn't you rather know where you stand than waste your time pursuing someone you love if they don't love you back? Or even better, what if the feeling is mutual and they too are scared of saying it? What's the worst that could happen? The fear is rejection. Unfortunately, that is life. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yeah, thank you for that, Claire. See, I like that response too. It's such a beautiful response. And what I've taken from that response is that the words that were mentioned, that fear of rejection, that is life. And I agree. In life, you're likely to be rejected several times, whether it's after an application for a scholarship, after a job interview, after putting your heart on the line. It is inevitable. And I feel that failure will leave you better equipped to deal with it next time around. But what we hope for is that alongside all that failure, you will also be having some success in life, in certain areas of your life, hopefully. I hope it's not all going to be a heartache and pain. So yeah, thank you for that response, Claire. The next person I'm reading from is Mr. S. Now, we're calling him Mr. S because he would like his identity to remain unknown. From Mr. S, he says, no, no, no. Do not confess any such thing to anyone unless you are 99.9% sure that they will feel the same or that they are on the same page. The woman I loved, she took my heart, she tore it to pieces, she chewed it up and she spat it out. She stepped on it and she chucked it in the bin. Wow, she chucked it. She didn't even put it in the bin, she chucked it in the bin. Most importantly, do not send your mate to do your dirty work, because he might just end up with her. Ooh, Mr. S. Wow, wow, wow. This woman did not take care of your heart, brother. What I can say is that it sounds like she was not the right one for you. As for your friend, he doesn't sound like a friend. And I agree. Do your own dirty work. Some people, they come as a friend, but they're really just a snake slithering their way through your path. So I hope things are better for you now, Mr. S. Thank you for your response. The next one we have is from a friend of mine named Della. Okay, so I will be playing Della's response because she sent it to me via a voice note on WhatsApp. So here it goes.
Hello. Well, I think if you love someone, you should tell them, because telling them is like a boost. It's like a vitamin, it's like a vitamin to the relationship. It boosts the body. So I think if they hear these words, it's going to help them get better in the relationship, because you always want to hear positive things, even at work. You want to hear that you're doing well, so that it motivates you to be better, so I think if you tell them you love them, it would boost the relationship. It will make it better, because even if you say it and the other person doesn't say it back, I don't think everyone needs to say it at the same time. I think it's a feeling. You have to feel it. You have to be in the moment and tell them. You can't force it. If you force it, it's just wrong, really. So I think if it's felt, it should be said. And obviously the fears are, if you tell them and they don't say it back, you're gonna be like, well, I love them, and he or she's not there yet. So do I love him more? Do I love him more? So the fears surrounding that are the fear of rejection, really, or the fear of thinking you're going too far, or you're ahead of the other partner. And if you don't tell them, the fear of that as well is, what if they're feeling the same way and they're not brave enough to tell you? It means both of you will be living a lie, or both of you would be living a relationship where you're not expressing yourself. Communication is key, really, in every situation. So the fear surrounding not telling them is just not living the relationship to the full. Imagine what telling them could make the relationship. It could make it better.
Thank you for that, Della. I really do love that response as well. I'm loving all these responses. and I'm learning from them. So in terms of Della's response, I love it because what I've taken from that is what she said about telling someone you love them is like a vitamin. It's a boost. And I agree with that, because when you know someone loves you, it puts a spring in your step. It boosts your confidence and it just makes you happy. And it can also enhance your relationship, maybe not romantically, but you may have a newfound appreciation for each other. And that in itself is growth and it's progress. And for me, that's a beautiful thing. So thank you for that, Della. The next one I have to read out is from a friend named Mark. He says, why not? But it will take some balls. And I agree. Yeah, it takes courage. Thank you for that, Mark. The next one I have is from another friend who, again, won't be named because I would like to remain anonymous. So I'm going to read this one out. They say, it depends on how long and how well you know the person and what your expectations are around telling them. So it depends on the situation. But that aside, in general, I do think that we should tell someone that we love them. It is an opportunity to experience being loved back and to build on that. It is not a negative thing. Showing love and being open about your feelings is something positive we can give another person. On the practical side of things, we might never know if the other person loves us back if we are too afraid to tell them. What if both have the same fear and then it just stays unsaid? It is something scary to say, as we might not know or be sure we will be loved back. But do we really want to waste our time waiting and hoping to be loved back? Or does it make more sense to risk it? The main fear would be rejection. But it might also be that from there, the relationship will get more serious and the expectations on both sides will be higher. Being rejected would be hurtful, but on the other hand, we would know where we stand and we can try to move on, and we have the opportunity to be free and open to someone who will love us back. Hearing it back can be one of the most powerful things to hear and can make us feel like we belong with the other person and can be the start of something great. I don't think we really gain anything by not telling someone we love them if we know that our feelings are true. We can only lose time either by waiting and hoping for something that would never happen, or by waiting for something that we could already have. If we love someone and they love us back, we will hopefully gain a partner in life. I do think for the possibility of that, it's worth risking getting rejected, because either way, we will gain something. Either we'll gain the opportunity to move on or the opportunity to experience love and a partnership. Oh, thank you. That was a very informative answer and I really liked that. And what I'm taking away from that is what you said about the risk-taking element. Taking a risk, I just think, yeah, take a risk for goodness sake. It might not be all bad. And if it is, you gain clarity and the opportunity to heal from it. So, thank you everybody for your responses. I'm really grateful for your input. So the general consensus is to tell them. You guys have mainly all said, and sorry about the people whose responses I couldn't read out, otherwise I'd be reading forever. So the general consensus is that you have more to gain than to lose. Apart from, of course, my good friend Mr. S. Well, Mr. S, I wish you love and happiness. The final word that I would like to give here is that it seems to me that there is a lot of pressure around whether or not it is a yes or a no from your significant other. The final word I would like to give here is that it seems to me that there is a lot of pressure around whether or not it's a yes or a no from your significant other. And the pressures are that if it's a yes, that the two of you will live happily ever after, and if it's a no, that you have to move on. But I don't actually think that there needs to be any kind of pressure for the yes or for the no. I think that if you get a big fat I love you too, that doesn't necessarily mean that your relationship will just fall into place and you will live happily ever after. I think that there are many factors in life that may hinder that process. Sometimes love is a fight, love is a struggle, and it takes work and it takes time and the building of trust and security and assurance. So there are many factors around the yeses and the nos. And I think that if you get a big fat sorry, I don't feel the same, again, it's okay. And there should be no pressure for you to move on, because the heart can't help what it feels. And I think it's important for you to allow yourself to feel until you don't feel anymore. These things can't be forced. You can't just make your heart stop loving, and you can't just stop what you feel. It's in your heart, and you don't choose that feeling. There are things you can do, like you can stop yourself from bombarding your significant other with thoughts and feelings, but you can't stop yourself from feeling them. So allow your heart to do what it does, because change will come when it comes. That's my advice. And to be honest, I think that just loving someone in itself is powerful. Hopes and dreams aside, loving with no expectations is what I see as unconditional love. And for me, that is the dearest love. Thank you for tuning in. Please tune into my next episode, which will be all about the 5 love languages. And this will inform some of the things that we have discussed today in terms of, for those of us or those of you, I don't know what bracket I'm in at the moment, that will not actually tell someone that you love them. But this may discuss ways of showing them that you love them. And then the outcome may be the same. Either way, they might get to find out. Thank you for tuning in.
We all have emotions and think about things. Let's talk about it.